I remain my humble self, Safety Kola Ole Bright from Nigeria. Mr. Ejina Walaka have said it all. So today class, I believe we are going to have a one house. So I will not be the only one doing the talking, but okay, I need your support. So I'll be sharing my screen now. Please kindly confirm if you can see the screen. So the topic before me is course 108, personal protective equipment. But before I proceed, does any one of us, maybe in the during the course of maybe during this course for the past 1 week, I don't know if any lecturer has mentioned it to us, maybe anything concerning personal protective equipment. Please, let's make it snappy so that we don't waste our time. Do we have any idea concerning PPE? The governor?
Yes, I do. I have idea about PPE, but it hasn't been mentioned fully in the class here.
Okay, continue, please.
Yeah, I said I have idea about personal protective equipment at workplace, but it has not been mentioned here in the group and in the class so far.
So to you, what does PPE means to you?
Okay, to me,
Hello, the governor? We lost him. Can anyone help us concerning personal protective equipment?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Madam Bamidele. You are welcome, Madam Bamidele.
PPE, the meaning of PPE is personal protective equipment. And I think he's talking about like things or wears or an equipment or let me say clothes that you can wear to protect yourself from any hazard or harm. Where like your place of work and your surroundings. To me, that's what I think it is.
Thank you very much. I believe most of us, whenever we see people putting on hard hats, whenever we see people putting on nice safety coverall, like when you see a doctor or you see a medical lab scientist, we always envy them to be like them sometimes. Not because they just want to wear that cloth for fashion, but definitely based on the risk assessment. The risk assessment narrow it down to what each or individual workers should wear. That is why you see an engineer will never put on what belongs to a doctor, and a doctor will also not put on what belongs to an engineer. So it is vice versa. So for PPEs, I believe we've learned a lot concerning risk assessment and also hierarchy of control. From the hierarchy of control, before I proceed concerning PPEs, our hierarchy of control during this class, we've learned about eliminations. So from eliminations from this class, what's the next under the hierarchy of control?
Yeah, hello.
Hello, I can hear you.
Yeah, I wanted to chip in, but you have already said it. So yes, for instance, I'm working in a mining place. So for these PPEs, I know there are a risk assessment that one has to get them use on his own to prevent him from getting serious injury or to reduce the injury that might comes out of your way. So for that, the lady explained it before, but we couldn't go deeper. Since I'm already there, I wanted to chip in and add in something small. Thank you.
All right, thanks for your time. Thanks for your contributions. You are highly welcome, and we appreciate your contribution. So without wasting much of our time, like I said, PPE remain the least and the last under the control measures we have. I believe we know we have 5 hierarchy of control. Confirm if you can hear me loud and clear, please.
Yes, sir. We have elimination.
Yes, sir,
okay. Yeah. Elimination, substitution,
engineering controls,
administrative, then the last
PPE.
Okay. Why I need okay, no problem. Thanks to all. So why I needed to go through that route was we needed to know the basic of what the PPE is all about. So PPE doesn't, when you have a PPE, that doesn't take the other hierarchy of control. The PPE is just a support to other hierarchy we have. In any work environment, once you carry out your risk assessment, even after eliminate or applying some substitution method or engineering control, there is still need to put on PPE. But people always think putting on PPE is the first thing in the workplace. No. When you do a proper risk assessment, PPE come last. So what's the PPE all about? For engineering control always try to create a barrier between you and the hazard that is associated to a particular task. But what is the need for the PPE? The function of PPE here is, even when you put all controls into places, if an incident happens, PPE doesn't mean an incident or an accident will never happen. What does PPE do? PPE only minimize the impact of whatsoever incident that happened. Let me give us an instance. The fact that we put on helmet means the hard hat. When we put on helmet, that doesn't mean when something drop from height, or maybe when something fall from height, that doesn't mean we will not feel the pains, but the pains will be minimal, unlike if something drop and hit the bare head. I don't know if I'm making sense here. Are we together?
Yes, you're making sense, sir. You are making sense, sir.
Okay, that's the difference between the PPE and other controls you have. Please always remember to apply other controls before thinking of PPE. In every workplace, PPE comes last. In an organization that have a good safety culture, they will not think of PPE. They will always think of how to eliminate the hazard first. So we believe that not all hazard can be eliminated. So in that cost, we put in another control, which is substitution. I believe we talk more about this, so I won't expatiate more on this. I will just limit myself to the PPE. So the personal protective equipment just come last under all other controls. So by course outline, we have the introduction, which I believe I've done justice to that, and the personal protective equipment itself, OSHA PPE standard, hazard assessment, PPE selections, PPE training and type of PPE, and likewise responsibility. So you have your duties of care, and likewise your employers have their own duties of care when it comes to personal protective equipment. So Occupational Health and Safety Administration, which is OSHA. The OSHA here is not OSHAssociation. The OSHA here is an OSHA executive. They are the one in charge of the law or administrative in UK. So this is not OSHAssociation. We have like 2 or 3 OSHA. This is Occupational Safety and Health Administrations. So they established under 29 CFR for the personal protective equipment. And also we have some standard for safety, which is ISO 45001, and it stated it clearly on the PPEs too. OSHA doesn't bank only on OSHA administrations. We also have some other standards that we can always tap from. And when it comes to safety, we always talk about the best practice. Even when others were doing it wrong, don't always follow crowd. What is required is for you to work according to the best practice, because most times best practice are always the safe practice. So, and the need for PPE is to protect workers. Likewise, as we have it, the employers have a responsibility, which is duty of care or the obligation to ensure their workers work safe, and also to provide a personal protective equipment for their workers. Likewise, the workers also have their own duty of care to ensure they make use of that personal protective equipment. As we proceed, we see all those duty of care and what is required of us as an employee or as a worker working in a particular organization. So what is personal protective equipment? When I say personal means just for you. You don't share anything personal to you. Personal means it's only meant for you. 2 of you cannot use one life jacket. 2 people cannot use one life jacket. It means 1 life jacket per person. You don't share it when it comes to personal. So by definition, they said it's a safety equipment that you need to put on to prevent injury in the workplace. Actually, not only in the workplace. Even in our various house, if there is need to carry out any task, we also still need to put on some PPEs. It's only that 90% of safety are being preached in the workplace. But like I do tell my workers, whatever we do on the training field or on in the workplace, please always take it home. Don't leave that knowledge in the workplace. Take it back to your premises, take it back to your environment. So example of PPEs that we have: life jacket is meant for people on the vessel, or people walking close to water, people walking near water, or if you are to embark on a journey and it involves you going through water. That's when you make use of your life jacket. We have high visibility jacket, which is common. We call it a reflective jacket. We have aprons or coveralls, which we are used to, that we always see that engineer people put on. Clothing to protect against cold, cardigan, immersion suits used by mariners, and we also have safety harness used for working at height. Hearing protectors, it could be earmuff, it could be air plugged. As we proceed, we see most of these things. We have eye goggles, or call it safety glass. We also have safety footwear. All these are very essential, and they help us to minimize the injury, or help us to prevent workplace incidents in case there will be anyone. But that doesn't indemnify you to always put yourself in the line of fire. What do I mean by line of fire? When you have a safety glass, that doesn't mean you should tell someone to come and stone you with catapult. Safety glass doesn't mean you should be exposed to hazard direct. It is just a second option and a supportive control to whatever other controls we might have put in place. Please, are you with me?
Yes, sir, we're with you.
All right, thanks a lot. So for OSHA standard as per 29 CFR, so what does the standard say? So the standard requires employers, the people that employ me, the standard requires them to do what? They need to carry out a thorough risk assessment of their workplace. To ensure that I am safe, they need to do a thorough risk assessment. Why do they need to do a thorough risk assessment? So that they can know the best or the fittest PPE that I am meant to use. Not just to provide me with PPE, but they need to provide the proper and the adequate PPE that is meant for a particular task. You know, every task, there is always a task-specific PPEs. We have different gloves. We have the gloves for NEPA. If you check AEDC or NEPA, like we are used to NEPA in Nigeria, and if you check NEPA's glove, man, it is totally different from other gloves. We have mechanical glove. We have glove used by riggers. So if you check NEPA's glove, we have 33 kVA glove, 11 kVA glove. All those gloves comes in size based on the risk assessment that has been carried out for that particular glove, and also for each glove that you want to use. We also have multipurpose glove, but multipurpose glove doesn't mean you are using it for NEPA issue. It can be used for general work in our work areas. And also, you need to select and provide appropriate PPE that fits each affected employee. Like I said, it will be a task specific. Aside from providing appropriate PPEs, it is also the duty of employers to train their employees on how to use PPE, and also how to report when they feel their PPE is in the bad shape. There is need for employees to report if we can't see to report if their PPE is in bad shape. Protecting employees from workplace hazard. Employers also, they have a duty to protect employees from workplace and also from dangerous incident or injuries or illness. So for employers, they must ensure that all the engineering and work practice control to eliminate and reduce hazard. Then the use of PPE in appropriate way. It is very essential that employers carry out all these risk assessments. They ensure that their employees are safe at all times, because when an employee's come to workplace, the aim is to earn a living, to make a living, and to live a good life. The aim is not to get injury in the course of carrying out his task. So when I come to work on a daily basis, my aim is to be happy. My aim is to be fulfilled. and my aim is to earn a living. So in the course of carrying out my task, my aim is not to get an injury. And that is why it is very essential for my employers to ensure as possible that they make provisions for me for the proper PPEs and carry out a proper assessment of my work environment. Also, I have there is what we call take 5 in my working environment here. What does take 5 mean? You need to take 5 minutes of your time. If you follow this take 5, believe me, you will be able to isolate some hazard and some risk associated with your task. What are those 5? Check the people that want to do the work. You also check yourself as people. That's number 1. Number 2 is the equipment that you want to use in carrying out that task. And part of the equipment is this personal protective equipment we are talking about. So after you check the people, you check the equipment, then you go by communication. Most of the incident or accidents happen in the workplace because of inadequate communication, because people doesn't really establish a proper communication before embarking on a particular task. So followed by work area. You need to do assessment of the work area where you want to carry out your task. But if from this you find out that okay, the work environment is not tidy up, you need to check what do we need to do. So after that, you need to see, in case of emergency, do I know what to do? That makes that 5-minute assessment to be complete. Then if you observe that out of these 5 check that you check, if there is any one that you feel that it is no, then you have a right to stop that particular task. Not just to stop a particular task, but try as much as possible to engage a superior personnel in that work environment to see how you can put things together and how you can manage whatsoever you feel to go wrong. So going forward, hazard assessment. So when you talk about hazard assessment, it's like you are saying something about risk assessment. So what does hazard assessment all about? It is the duty of employers that they need to evaluate every job functions, every task. And that is why we always have job safety analysis form. What does the job safety analysis form do? They check step by step of for a particular task you are to embark on. Once they check that, they will be able to determine for each step what could go wrong. Once they are able to determine what could go wrong, definitely they will provide a suitable and appropriate mitigation measures to prevent what could go wrong before thinking of providing PPEs as last option. Determine if hazards are present. If hazards are present, put a mitigation measures in place. Check for hazard to all part of the body, not only the body, the immediate environment, like I said earlier. Determine the appropriate PPE comes into practice because you need to have used all other control measures before you think of the appropriate PPEs to put into place. PPE is always the last chance. Having a PPE doesn't mean you shouldn't do a thorough risk assessment or you shouldn't carry out a thorough risk assessment of any task you are embarking on. So common hazard in the workplace, we can be exposed to chemical. So chemical doesn't mean when you are working in a Coca-Cola company alone. Even a cleaner in your organization could be exposed to a chemical. When you clean on a daily basis, there are PPEs to be used when you are doing your cleaning duties. Falling or dropping objects, this is related to when you are working at height. So working at height, we could have a falling object or a dropping object. Those are the hazards associated with people working at height. Particulate, temperature extreme, light, and so on and so forth. We can also have a sharp object. So when you are selecting a PPE, try to ensure that this is also the duty for the employer. They need to protect each employee from whatsoever hazard they were able to identify. The design and the construction of that PPE needed to be safe. Not that you put on the PPEs and you are endangering yourself again. The PPE has to be fit. Not that you put on a size 45 shoes and you know your size is size 42. But in the name of you want to wear safety shoes, they gave you size 45 just to manage. No, you're already causing more hazard to yourself. It is far better to put on something that you know it is fit for you. something that is fit for the purpose, not just to wear safety shoe in the name of we are meant to wear safety shoe. It must be tidy. Like proper hygiene is also part of what we need to preach to ourselves, and that is why I said it is personal, not something to be shared with one another. But the culture we see in some of the workplaces these days is that people share PPEs, which is not normal. It is not proper. You need to also provide each, they said each, they didn't say combine, each employee with their own good fit PPEs, and that particular PPEs must meet ANSI, that's American Standard Institute. If you check the back of reflective jackets, they always put this tag, ANSI standard, just an approved standard, and also other standards approved by OSHA. Are we together, please?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Please, are we following?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we are following, sir.
Yes, sir.
We are following, sir.
Okay. We are following, sir. Though it's only Jesus that is coming back, but if we observe that I'm too fast, or maybe you want me to repeat something, always coming back. So I'm not Jesus, but I can always call back. So root causes that may result in general non-compliances. What do we call non-compliances? For me, not really non-compliances, but like we can say unsafe habits or unsafe act of employees in the workplace. This always related to an organization that is fully comply to safety standard, but some of their employees, you need to check why is it that most of them are not putting on the PPE provided for them. Aside from negligence, aside from complacency, there are also some results, some root causes that are also all contributing factors that make some employees not to put on their PPEs. What are those things? Maybe the quality of PPE they provided for them, it doesn't suit them. There are some PPE that might even causing rashes for you if care is not taken. And also some safety glass, if the quality is poor, it might even be like your lens or your vision might be impaired too. So sometimes employees might tend not to put on such PPEs. Also, maybe inadequate supervision for the use of PPE. When there is no adequate supervision, like I do tell my workers, we've grown beyond telling like my role. I think we've grown beyond forcing people to put on their PPEs, because my company have a good safety culture and we don't force people to wear PPE. You should know that it's your duty of care before you start your job to comply to every safety protocols in this work environment. Early morning, I will always advise my people, this is not the time to pet you to wear your PPE. This is the time to remind you that whatever that happens to you, always remember that you left someone at home. It could be your mother, it could be your wife, it could be your father, it could be your son, it could be your daughter. So this is not the time to pet you, or like this is the time to tell you the truth of the matter, because the company safety culture has grown beyond forcing people to wear PPE. So the employers fail to enforce the use of PPE. We've grown beyond enforcement. At times, there are also need to encourage people to wear PPE. You need to let them see the need and the reason why they have to put on PPE. And these are the reason why some workers don't want to wear their PPE. Also, the employer does not properly train. And as we all know, we said something concerning training. When you provide PPEs for workers, there is need for you to train them on how to use that PPE. No matter how cheap it is, some helmets need adjustments, and not everybody knows how to wear helmets. If I'm talking of helmet, I mean hard. As simple as life jacket, I will still need to train some people on how to wear that life jacket on site. As simple as reflective vest, you still need to tell people, this is the proper way of putting on reflective vest. I observe some workers use their helmet like cap. No, it is not allowed. And that is where inadequate supervision comes into practice. You keep telling people what to do and how to do it. This part is very essential. There is no end to learning. We learn, relearn, and unlearn on a daily basis. So we won't get tired when it comes to safety. We won't get tired when it comes to awareness on any safety practices. When and where is PPE required? So PPE is required for hazard of processes when you are working in a process line. It could be oil and gas. It could be fast-moving consumer goods like Coca-Cola, Nigerian breweries. Whenever you observe any environmental hazard, like I said, I talked about immersion suits last time. Like, if you are in abroad, definitely you put on cardigan all days because of the weather in that particular abroad. And also there are some area where you want to work. We call something confined space. In a confined space, you can never wear thick coverall. In some confined space, to be precise, but what you need is disposable coverall. And that was why I said earlier that immediate environment also matter when you are doing your take 5. Your immediate environment or the task you are to embark on will guide you on the type of PPE that is required. So dealing with chemicals, PPE is also required. Radiological hazard, there is also need for PPEs for anything radiations, such as when you see weather, they used to put on their big wedding mask. It is not for fashion. That thing can blind someone. So not just to wear it because they want you to see that they are putting on that goggle or maybe their mask. And also for mechanical reason, mechanical irritants, PPE is also required. Not only just that, when you are entering a construction site, there are also specific PPE, mandatory PPE that you need to put on before we talk of task-specific PPE. Like the 5 we mentioned here, task-specific PPE are applicable here, but some sites, some work area, there are standard PPE that you need to put on. But when you deviate from that particular area, maybe you are going on board a vessel or you want to enter ship, definitely they needed to add another PPE, which is life jacket for you. Training requirements. It is very essential that you need to undergo training on how to use a particular PPE. And also you need to know the limitation of the PPE. The fact that you have a PPE doesn't give you 100% guarantee that you should be exposing yourself to whatever hazard that comes your way. So definitely PPE is very necessary. Employer must also train in the following areas before issuing them the PPE. When the PPE is necessary, the type of PPE that they needed to provide for them, how to properly wear. That's what they mean by properly done. Wear, doff, adjust, and wear their PPE. This is where the training is required. And also the limitations for that PPE. It is also essential to know your limitations when putting on PPE. And also proper care. When your employers give you a personal protective equipment, they've done their own part. It is now your own responsibility to ensure that you take care of that PPE, proper maintenance of the PPE. I can tell you, as of today, one safety shoe, the original one, cost nothing less than 70,000 upward. The original safety shoe. So the need for you to take care of these personal protective equipment can never be overemphasized. And also the need to learn how to use them also are very important. So whatever you need to learn about PPE, it is very essential that we take it home. And also we learn, if you are a safety personnel, you need to know that when your companies are procuring PPE too much, they will challenge you, they will question you. How did you go about this procurement? Could it be that you didn't train people or you are not getting the right PPE? Because when you are using one safety shoe and you keep purchasing 10 safety shoe per month, then they will question, like, where are you getting the safety shoe from? So as a safety personnel, we are part of the company. Our own is not to just to procure PPEs. Our own is to also manage costs for the company. Let them see us as part of their business, not just looking for blame or looking for fault or just to bring money to buy PPEs. Always be supportive to every task given to you, and always try to encourage workers on how to wear their PPEs in appropriate way. Then ensure that you document whatever training you give to employees. It is very essential, not just essential, but for all this sake And this also serves as evidence, like they used to say on my site. If I barricade a particular portion, like maybe I put a signages in a particular portion, believe me, my phone used to capture moments and time. I would definitely capture that place. You know what they used to say? You go explain tire. Let there be evidence that you train people, and documentation is your own evidence. You can take pictures for whatsoever training you carried out, or for whatsoever actions or tasks you have completed. It is allowed. So that they will not tell you that you go explain tire. Let there be.
Is there any breach in network, sir? Safety caller Wale. We cannot hear you any longer, sir. Dr. Emmanuel, kindly help us out, sir. Dr. Emmanuel, are you there?
Okay, class governor, are you here?
Yes, I'm here, sir.
Okay, I believe it's network fluctuation. Please kindly bear with us while he
It's all right, sir.
gets a stable network to continue. I hope you guys are
Okay.
following.
Yes, we are.
Oh, good. All right. Oh, good.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Safety caller, you can continue, sir.
Okay, please confirm others can hear me from here.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, sir.
We can hear you now.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, sorry. I had issue with my network. So for retraining requirements, why do we need to do a retraining requirement in our work environment? Changes could happen in our workplace, maybe in the process, or maybe there are new equipment brought to the work environment. So definitely on how to use that equipment, there is need to do a proper training on how to use that particular equipment. So for that, there is need to do retrain. It is very essential that we carry out a retrain of that work equipment, and likewise the training will also be applicable to the PPEs we are to issue to our workers. Change in type of PPE, and we have different type of PPE. Maybe someone that is used to a mechanic's glove, and you issue him another type of gloves. Now definitely you need to show the person how to use that particular glove. So when there is inadequacy, when the employee doesn't have a thorough knowledge of the PPEs, there is need to also retrain that particular employees. There is what we call refresher awareness. You can always do refresher awareness every third month. It can be quarterly, it can be every 4 months, but there's always need to do a reminder on whatsoever training to all the workers on our site or in our organization. Assessment that the use of assigned PPEs indicate that the employees has not retained training. So it's also part of training matrix that employees should be trained thoroughly. And it is also when audit is being carried out in a particular company, they can also audit your system to confirm if you have adequate training on how to use personal protective equipment, or determined by result of accident investigations. or when there is an accident investigation and investigation revealed that there were inadequate or non-compliance to PPE, you can do a retrain for the employees. So route of exposures, this is related to how we can be exposed to some hazard. Is either by inhalation, skin absorption, either by injection or by ingestion. So we can see the pictures here. This is for the injections. We can see from our nose, through our nose is inhalations, and once we see from skin is absorptions, and also we have the one that we eat, that's ingestion. So knowing the hazard and how to protect them, it is very key, and this also creates a barrier for us to minimize the effect of whatever hazard that might come on our way in the course of carrying out our task. So your safety is the key. Always ensure that you put on your PPEs in the right way. So we've mentioned the type of PPE. There is no need of wasting much of our time here. And when you are talking about PPE, just think about your head, from your head down to your toe. So when you have your head, what do you need to put in your head? Safety helmet. What do you need to put in your eyes? Safety goggle. What do you need to put in your nose? Respiratory protections. We have series of respiratory protections. What do you need to put in your hands? Glove. What do you need to put in your body? Coverall. And what do you need to put in your foot? Safety shoe. And there are also supportive PPE like life jackets that we might not mention here, but it's also personal protective equipment used at sea or when you are walking close to water. So when you are making the choice for the PPE, you need to consider so many factors. And how do you consider these factors? Your risk assessment, your thorough risk assessment will guide you. You need to consider the type of job you want to embark on. You can't compare someone that is working in mechanic workshop with someone that is working in chemical workshops. Their job is actually different, and definitely the scope of their job will also determine the type of PPEs that you need to issue out for them. The condition where the exposures occur, like I said, when someone is working like 3-meter height, definitely body harness is required. Even if it is 1.8 by standard, there is need to provide body harness for such person. Then you calculate or evaluate the risk involved in that particular job. That will also ascertain the part of the type of PPE you need to issue out for individual employees. The demand placed on the workers. Where is the location of their work? How long the PPE has to be worn? So we have some personal protective equipment that lasts for 15 minutes. Why do I say that? See firefighters, their emergency escape breathing device. Some last for 15 minutes, some last for 20 minutes because they carry oxygen bottle. It's not really oxygen, it is air suppliers. And there is always alarm that will also notify them when there is danger that the air suppliers in this bottle is about to finish. You need to find way to escape. Also, ergonomic requirement. There are chairs in our office that they always provide us suitable ergonomics position. Ergonomics means how you try to fit in your body with the environment you find yourself. It could be chairs. At times, some of us, we try to stretch ourselves. Maybe we want to pick something from the wardrobe. Then you stretch your hand fully, meaning you are actually trying to fit in your position with your work environment. You don't need to stretch this hand. If you use proper tools for the work, definitely you will carry out that job safely without stretching your hand or without putting yourself under risk. The state of health of the wearer. There are need to confirm if you are fit to put on particular PPEs. Check your eyes. What type of eye goggle is needed for you? Even for your nose, are you fit to put on some certain nose mask? There are some cloths that if you feel too much heat, it could lead to suffocation for you, or maybe it will make you slump. So those are the conditions that you need to check before you even accept any PPE. And that is the more reason why employees also carry out annual tests on their workers. This annual test confirm if individual employees are fit to work. So, and tests also determined by age at times. Some people at age 40 or age 50, they will tell them to do some special tests concerning some work equipment, or like they might even recommend some to do eye test. It all depends on the type of job you do for that particular organization or that particular company. So for eye protection, as you can see, they call it eye and face protections. These are the weather's equipment, and also this you can see they come in different form. Can we see?
Yes.
So you can see this big face
Yes,
mask.
we can see.
This is used by
We can
weather.
see. Yes.
This is used by weather. This other that looks like goggle by swimmer, those people that work in the marine, and this is the other goggle, safety glass. This also is meant for weathers, this second type, just to prevent them from all this flashing light and this radiation effects. So most times we also have the one for the electrical work. We have all these protective from flying particles, from heat, from radiations, molten metals, chemicals. This green can also be used for chemicals. This also can also be used for chemicals. So, and also vapor gases, lasers. All these must comply with ANSI. You know, we talk about American Institute standard initially, right? So we continue with eye and face protections. There must be a proper prescription lenses to wear these particular eye protections, and this protects you from direct radiations. As you can see this weather here, you can see this man put on the face mask. Ordinarily, it happens on site most times. If I try to look straight with my white goggle, I might be feeling headache throughout the whole day if I look at this light here. Not a joke. There is need for proper protections. Some people will tell you that I've been working for more than 40 years. Please don't listen to that story. Just advise them. Let them see reason why they need to put on their PPEs at all time. So as we can see, like I said it times with that number about radiation energy or radiant energy, which is most of the times those are the things that the weathers are exposed to. And all shade numbers for lenses and helmets must conform to the ANSI standard, like we said earlier. So for respiratory protections, which is our nose mask, during COVID-19, everybody put on Ankara nose mask. So nose mask comes in forms. We have 3M, 2N, P mask, but most times in our work environment now, people make use of this 3M. 3M is also a brand from a particular company. So for people using this single cartridge or any nose mask that has a cartridge, there is an environment which they call hydrogen sulfide environment for those that work in dredging company, or for those, you know, hydrogen sulfide smell like a rotten smell. So when you perceive such smell, you don't use all these ordinary nose masks. The nose mask you require is the one with the cartridge. Those are the ones that can prevent you from inhaling this H2S. But most times it is not common in every work area, but most times it is common in dredging sites. Maybe when they break the surface of the water, like deep down, so they will be perceiving some smell. But okay, so many face protections are here that we can make use of in the course of carrying out our duties, and they can also be used for vapor, dust, fogs, fumes, mist, sprays. So because all these contaminants, they can settle anywhere. Like we said, we've talked about injection, inhalations, and also the one that could enter from skin absorption. So that is why we need to make provisions for adequate PPEs. And we can see the one artificial resuscitations. They always make this use of this, not actually PPE per se, but they normally use it to resuscitate people to life. So I made mention of breathing apparatus for firefighters initially. We can see breathing apparatus here for the firefighters to fight against any fire incident, to rescue whosoever that might have been trapped, and also to fight fire. So this is also part of respiratory device. So we have a condition to operate all these PPEs. Anytime engineering controls are not feasible or are being implemented, PPE can be a support to whatsoever engineering or substitution control that we have. When you are exposed to some levels beyond the permissible level, this face protections is actually allowed. That was why I made mention of emergency escape breathing apparatus. This is how the shape looks like with this bottle here. Also for maintenance and repair activities that may result in exceeding permissible exposure limits, like entering a confined space, the proper face mask is required. During emergency response, which I've made mention, voluntarily according to the OSHA voluntary protection requirements. So if we are to engage in any maintenance or any repair or maybe for any voluntary demand, so PPE is very essential. So talking about respiratory protections, when the use of respirators are required, the following elements shall be applied. You need training, not only for respiratory equipment, but for every equipment or for every PPEs you have to use in your work environment. Please tell me if you want me to reverse or maybe to rewind myself. You want me to come back?
You can go on, sir.
I'm hearing some
Go
voice
ahead.
on the ground.
Go ahead.
on,
Let
sir.
her
Go on, sir.
answer your question.
We are following you, sir.
So I'm hearing some background. That was what I needed to ask. So training, please let's mute our mic, please. It's causing. Let's mute our mic, please.
This is one of the pioneers.
Can we try to mute those people that are talking on the ground, please?
Are you going out? No. Are you bringing out? Brother?
Hello? Please mute your mic if you are not contributing for now, please. So when the use of respirator are required, the following elements shall be applied. The training, the fit testing, like I said, annual medical test, medical evaluation, care and maintenance of that PPEs, and likewise procedure for respirator selections. There are always guidelines, user manual, and also procedure for routine and emergency use. Like when you are having a drill is like a training, like an awareness. Like when there is an emergency, people might just try to turn on their fire alarm system to see how people respond to an emergency situation. That's what we call drill. Like drill could be every quarters. It all depends on the nature of the job. For vessel or for marine, they can do 3 drills per month, but for offices, most times their drill is always like 3 times every 3 months or every 4 months. It all depends on the scope of their activities too. Head protections. You know, you can sweat as a NEPA. Maybe you are working with ADC and you sweat. So the need to put on hard hat to prevent electrocution is very essential. Or maybe for flying objects or dropping objects. You can see this man head now. He's having a bare head, small. If this sharp edge or this hammer hits this head direct, we know the consequence will be much. But if there is helmet, if this man is putting on helmet, like I said, the helmet doesn't stop this hammer from hitting his head, but it will only reduce the impact of that hammer in his head. So we have a protruding material, that's sharp objects, high voltage equipment, and that is why it is very essential for our NEPA, our AEDC, our EEDC, Abuja, Enugu, Lagos, NEPA to put on their helmet. We always see them in our environment. Please, as a safety professional, there is need to always encourage them. But when you are encouraging people, don't talk to them like a baby. Your approach also matters when you are correcting people. You have that right to correct people, but please, let's always correct with respect, even if you are to do so. So these are the helmets. So some people put green helmet for safety, red helmet for fire, yellow, like that. But like, it doesn't really matter these days. Wear whatever helmet you think you find. What matters most is you need to put on helmet when there is need for you to put on helmet. It is very essential to put on this helmet for safety reasons. Foot protections. We have series of foot protections. I work with dredging company. So definitely we have series of safety shoes that we put on. We can make use of this rain boot, but not just rain boots. It's safety rain boots. it has a steel toe in the front for safety reason, because we are working in a quicksand environment and in a muddy environment. So we are not only using safety shoe. There are times we use safety shoe, and there are times we need to make use of this water resistant shoe. So these are the common safety shoe that we have. And what does the safety shoes does for us? At times, for falling and rolling objects, the steel toe boot will prevent some impact if an object fall directly into our leg. For slippery, the sole of the safety shoe always prevent us from slip and trip hazard at times, and for object that could pierce into the sole of our shoe. That is why we need a good and quality safety shoe. Where employees are exposed to electrical shocks. So I need to deviate from here. For the electrical shock, they don't put steel toe safety shoe. They don't make use of steel toe, because when you use a steel in an electrical environment, there are tendency that you might be electrocuted while dealing with electric appliances. So what they use is composite material. That composite material is as hard as steel, just like when you see a thick wood. So they use the same composite material to build up the safety shoe that are meant for electrical people, electricians, or people dealing with transformer, or whosoever that works with NEPA, AEDC, or whatever organization that deal with electricity. So their own is not steel toe but composite materials. So these are the type of shoes. You can see the impact injury. I think this is marble, and also the spills. Most times for the spills, you can actually use rubber safety shoes with steel toes. So compressions, all this will be prevented with the aid of proper PPEs. So there is need to do a thorough assessment before issuing out any PPEs to any workers. So selection and cares. When we talk about selections and cares, we are talking about the conditions that requires the use of PPE. And when we are talking about these conditions, we are talking about the work areas where each employees are working at a particular moment. So once you carry out a thorough risk assessment, all these selection, care, and maintenance will be put into practice. Hand protections. Without wasting much of our time, like I've mentioned about 11 kVA, 35 kVA, chemical glove, and other glove initially. All this can prevent severe cut and lacerations, abrasion, puncture, chemical burn, thermal burns, etc. So series of glove. The glove also depends on the work environment. What you need to know, it is not all this definition that we have here. Like I do tell people when I'm training people, the idea is not for you to cram for the exams, but the idea is for you to get the basic of what safety is all about. So when talking about glove, please, whatsoever PPE you needed to provide, please always remember your risk assessment. Like I said, I give you an expo, like take 5. I want to work at height. I take myself for example. Then I look at myself as people. Then I look at the equipment I want to use. Then I consider the PPEs I want to use if I'm to work at height. Once I do a risk assessment for that height, meaning I needed a risk assessment, I needed body harness for that height. But now for this glove, I want to work in chemical room. So definitely I should think of the type of glove that is fit in that chemical room. Then those are the gloves that will be provided for me to work in that particular chemical room. For my cleaners on site, you normally use this latest glove, the one that you can easily dispose on a daily basis. And at times, if you are preaching green initiative, you can also give them the rubber glove so that they can use and reuse again. So you need to do a thorough assessment to know what type of gloves, what type of safety shoes that is required in your work environment. Common type of glove: disposable, fabric, leather glove, chemical, metal, aluminum. We have mechanics, and we also have some gloves for riggers. Glove donning and doving. These are the steps we learned during COVID-19. So we can see the image. So when you are to wear glove is always simple, but to dove, you can see this step 4, how they want to dove. The idea is you are not doving from the top. You need to put your hand inside that particular glove. This majorly is actually meant for when you are dealing with the likes of COVID-19 and Ebola, so that on your own you don't expose yourself to COVID-19 or to any bacteria or to any viruses that is in vogue at that particular moment. You can doff glove anyhow where there is no bacteria, but it is always advisable to doff it correctly as for best practice. The fact that there are not bacterial viruses now doesn't mean we should doff our glove in inappropriate way. They say something, we learn every day. There is no end to learning. Let's keep practicing the good safety culture, so that when it is time to do it where we know that we've already learned it, we are not struggling to come back on how to doff or don any safety equipment. Hearing protection. For noise, the any noise level above 85 decibel, we know it is unbearable. So for that reason, when you are exposing yourself to more than 85 decibel on a daily basis, definitely you might have a kind of hearing loss. And this happens without employees notice. Most times when their employers expose them and they don't know their rights. So definitely the sensory cell for them to hear, they might lost it. And that is why most times employees can sue their employers if they have a good case. It is I keep saying it is the responsibility of the employers to provide a proper PPEs. If any employers endangering your life and expose you to something that could make you lose one of your hair or damage your hair, you have every right to sue such employers. So we have series of ear protections. This first one, we call it ear muffs. The second one is ear plugs, and the third one is ear caps. They are always portable, but these ear muffs, most times they use them in the engine room or plant where we have higher noise above 85 decibel. Before you enter that engine room, it could be engine room of a ship or in the process plant where we have higher noise. They make use of that earmuffs because the noise there is unbearable. So if you don't use this earmuff, these earplugs might not work for you. So earmuff is the applicable air protections, and that is why there are always task specific PPE, like I said earlier, and that is why you have this earmuff and this earplug. But your assessment, your risk assessment or hazard evaluations will guide you on the type of PPEs that you needed to put on at every point in time. Donning of hearing plugs. So there are also techniques on how to put these hearing plugs. You need to roll, squeeze with your finger. Then you need to pull it inside deep. Then it will swell up in your ear. So it is not a rocket science. It's just something that if you practice it, if you have it, then you practicalize it, then it's become part of you. Body protections. So like I said earlier, we have lab scientists, we have lab technicians. They put on their own white coverall, blue coverall, not because they want to do yanga, not because they want to show off, but because it is part of their responsibility and it is part of their culture to ensure they are safe. So in the cost of putting themselves or maybe trying to be safe, there are PPEs for them to put on. So your legs must be protected from hazards such as intense heat, cut, hazardous chemical, splashes from hot metals, depending on the area you are working, contact with potentially infectious material like blood, radiation hazard, impact from tools, machinery, and materials. So we have a disposable coverall. Like I said, they normally use it for a confined space activities. Not only that, there are also some activities that you need to put on a disposable coverall or aprons. And most times you see those coverall, they come with reflective, like because most of us work at night. In the course of carrying out our work at night, it is very essential that the cloth we are putting on must reflect to the third party or to the driver or to our fellow colleague. So fully body suit, sleeves, apron. So everything depends on the work environment or the immediate work area where you are working. So we said something about being fit. This my sister here, like, kit up and is ready for the job. She was happy to put on this cloth because the cloth is fit for her, and likewise she make use of the proper safety gloves to be used for the activities. So there is need for safe practice. There is need to select and use the right type of protective clothing for the job. You will be happy to use it when you have the right equipment. So, and also protecting clothing must be fit. When something is fit, people want to wear it. I love when I put on my life jacket because it is always fitted in my body. Then you can't overemphasize on the need to inspect your PPE, not only protecting cloth in this case, but every PPEs. Don't also forget the maintenance part and the care that we made mention concerning the PPE. Once you inspect your PPE, there is also need to report to your supervisor if you find out that there is any wear and tears in your PPEs, so that they can replace that PPEs. That is where training part comes into practice. You are meant to be trained. Your employer's responsibility. They need to train you on how to choose the right PPE and how to use the PPEs. Store in a clean place. Don't just doff your PPEs in appropriate manners. They use money to get that PPEs. Let's keep engaging workers on adequate and proper use of PPEs. So there are so many materials that they use in making all these PPEs, but the materials also depends on the area you are working. The selection or the type of PPE to be used depend on area where you to carry out your activities. So if you are to work in an area that you feel it is not protected by maybe if there are heat in that particular environment, definitely you need to use something that will cover your body, that will not too much cover like that part of the body. So if you check the engineering part, they normally use thick cloth simply because most times our activities involve dealing with heavy equipment. And also if you check the weather, they use fire resistant cloth because fire keeps dropping into their cloth, so that the materials of whatsoever they use will be able to withstand the activities they engage or they embark on. So the need for assessment and thorough assessment can never be overemphasized before you issue out PPEs to any workers you want to issue out the PPEs to. And it is also the duty of safety personnel to always ensure the quality of whatsoever their procurement department is delivering for them. Any items that is meant for safety, you need to do a thorough check to see if that PPE has not expired. So many times I inspect some of what the vendors brought to my site. I always observe some are not, maybe the expiring date, the lifespan is closed, and it will not be okay for me to go to the management to say, this PPE has expired. So you need to check at the point of delivery if they are fit for the purpose and if they still have a valid and longer lifespan. For protections, this is not just body harness. These are rope access people. Rope access are mainly for people working offshore. So majorly people doesn't use ladder to work offshore most times. They use rope access. But this require a thorough training, not just for anybody. So for fall protections, we have body harness that you wear like a jacket to protect you when working at height of 6 feet or greater than that. When you work at any height in area lift, power platform and similar equipment, like we have telehandler, we also have a man basket that could lift people while working at height. But when using all this equipment, there is also need for body harness to safeguard you. And we also have safety belts, lifelines, lanyard that protects whosoever that work at height, maybe on top of the roof. So there are always equipment for every task that we embark on. And what's the need for this equipment? These equipment are not meant for fashion. These equipment are there to safeguard us. These equipment are being used after a thorough risk assessment has been carried out, and these equipment are being provided by our employers to ensure they safeguard us before while embarking on our particular task. The fact that people will fall when working at height doesn't mean we will not carry out that job. If we can't eliminate the height work, we choose substitution method. Can we use a stable platform? Even when we are using a stable platform, then there are always supporting systems, and that's where we have body harness. Since we cannot eliminate the risk of falling from height, we can always have a precautions to work at height. Since we can't stop ourselves from working at height, we work at height, but we provide a measures to prevent us from falling from that height. Care of PPE. You need to check PPE. Like I've said it earlier, care for PPE. You need to always inspect your PPE. You need to always clean thoroughly. And also when you observe that there are any damage, you can always report to your supervisor for replacement. And proper storage is also encouraged for PPE. You don't fix or repair a damaged PPE. The best approach is to report. PPE is always provided by supervisor department. This is not actually like casted on stone. Whosoever that is delegated to share PPE in your premises, like my own work environment, we the safety personnel, we are in charge of sharing PPEs so that we can have adequate controls of what goes out and what comes in. So if performing activities and you do not have PPE, we are meant to safety can also be a supervisor. Like my own work, like I'm more or less like a team leader, likewise a supervisor. So it all depends on what our organization practice. All these standards are not casted on stone, but just for best practice, these are the procedures to follow. Employee may be responsible for lost or damaged PPE. At times, we keep preaching no blame culture. If you have a suitable backup story, you can tell us what happened to your PPE. If you lost your PPE and maybe you have a good story to back it up, because there is need for us to give you a proper PPE. We can't tell you to go and buy the PPE, but this statement is just for you to know that you take care of your PPE. They use money to buy that PPE, so don't just don't see it as an advantage for you to always come to safety department office to collect safety shoe every month. State equipment use policy must be strictly complied. There is always a PPE policy, and under that PPE policy, training is also embedded in it. So as you can see, we have responsibility. My employers have their responsibility. We've stated all this responsibility in the course of our training, but for recap, we have it as a summary here. What's the responsibility of my employers? Thorough risk assessment, engineering and work practice control. They need to make selection for good PPEs. They need to inform the employees on how to use their PPEs or provide the necessary PPE. Training is required, and also they need to tell employees proper way of donning or putting on their PPE. And also the selection of PPE in the workplace. It is also the duty of employers. This will be done after thorough evaluation or after risk assessment. So for employees, you need to comply with the standard, the rules and regulation, and the protocols, every safety protocols within the work environment. You need to use your personal protective equipment in adequate manners, not in an unsafe way. Then report any unsafe act, unsafe conditions, or whatsoever that you feel could result in injury. Cannot sign waiver and accept risk of injury. And likewise, you must use PPE in accordance with training instruction and procedures. So training instructions, there is always a manual, a guide for whatsoever PPEs that we have. Please, there is always need. If we are not clear, let's meet someone that we believe understand the use of this PPE. Don't let us believe we know all. Even myself, I'm still learning. That was why I said we keep learning, unlearn, and relearn. Without wasting much of our time, thanks for listening. Thanks for your time. So I bring this class to an end for now. So the class is open for contributions, questions, answer, So the floor is open for everyone. So back to OSHA admin.
Yes, thank you very much, Septicola. You have done really justice to this course, personal protective equipment. I am so sure that the delegates here present are well informed. At least one should be able to know the kind of PPE to put on depending on the task, because the PPE you put on is directly proportional to the task at hand. Thank you so much, Septicola. Yes,
You're welcome.
class governor, are you here? I think we should give a standing ovation to Septicola for this wonderful lecture today. It's more than lecture. This is practical teaching. Thank you so much, Septicola. All right, class governor.
Welcome.
Yes, before the governor, I want to appreciate Septicola for that wonderful job he has done. And I believe that it's very clear to every one of us to have understand and also how this health and safety is being managed, how to manage health and safety in terms of PPEs usage, PPE selection, PPE risk assessment. So these are the key areas of interest. I think somebody have a question earlier, trying to raise up his hand. Mr. Samuel Bukala, over to you, please.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Yeah,
go ahead, please.
During his presentation, he mentioned about air plug and air muffs. So, and I have similar issue presently with my company that somebody sue the company that because during his job, because the person has already retired, and before he was promoted to senior staff level and he was working in admin. Before then, he was working inside factory whereby he used a jackhammer to, during the maintenance, they need to use the jackhammer. So he now, after retiring now, he has an issue with his head. He cannot, with hearing, he cannot hear properly. He now sue the company to court. So I want to ask, because during his time, I think safety have not gone to this level in Nigeria. So, and all the, I think because I newly joined them, and with what I had from my board, they say all this air muffs and also this thing have not been provided then. So, and it sued the company. Just want to know, what is it the fault of the company to provide, or his fault? But later he was promoted to senior staff working at me and has no issue until he retired. Before he now retired maybe 10 years back, before he now sued the company. So that's my question.
I'm not really clear with your questions. What are you really asking? Like, when he was working as a shop floor worker, the company doesn't provide him with necessary PPEs for the repair or maintenance work, right?
Yes, sir.
Then when they transferred him to the admin, does he have that same issue of hearing when he was working at admin?
No, he has no issue. Even 10 years back when he retired, he has no issue. It was later after that 10 years, I think so. So he now having issue with his hearing. So he now sued the company.
My question first, does he win the company?
No, because you said 10 in the court.
Because 10 years later, like, the company can actually ascertain that maybe the cause of that hearing loss is not from their own workplace. Okay. But let me just make something clear to us. Like, we used to see some bricklayers in our premises, right? Yes. And those bricklayers, I want to use that one as an example. When you tell them to put on their nose masks, they keep on telling us that they have been doing that work for the past 30 years, right?
Yes.
So the result will not be today. The result will be like after they've even grown up, when this our system can no longer contain some hazard effect on us, it will accumulate. So when it accumulates, then it will now show later in future. And that is why when you are advised to use any personal protective equipment, please use. The effect is not actually for today. The effect might be for tomorrow. You might think you are strong. Not because you are strong today. What of tomorrow? The accumulation of this noise could resulted in hearing loss. But after 10 years, I think I don't want to believe in his own story, but it's also possible because they transferred him to admin. Suppose this happened in the course of still with the company, the case might have been clear to me. But if the company also have a good lawyer, so definitely the company should be able to win. But it is the responsibility of the company to do a thorough risk assessment and ensure they keep their workers safe. This personal protective equipment is also one of their key obligations. They have to provide it for their workers no matter what, and they are meant to provide the appropriate PPEs for their workers. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Thanks for your contributions. Please, do we have any other questions?
Now, thank you so much, Safety Caller, for that wonderful narration. You know, the issue of PPE, another thing, just like what he have already said, you know, we need to understand when you say people wearing PPE, sometimes, like in Africa, for example, everybody just wear PPE. You see somebody wearing helmet, wearing safety shoe, wearing hand gloves, wearing overall. It's not by just what you wear, but it's by, you know, identifying the appropriate one based on the kind of hazard you are exposed to. So that's why in some organization, when you see some people possibly doing a task, they only wear helmets, you know, where they are not wearing they are not wearing maybe they are not wearing what's the name, overall. They may just wear their helmets and sunshade, or maybe their safety glasses and hand gloves, and they may not also even be wearing the safety shoe. It all depends on the hazard involved. The hazard involved determines what you wear and how you wear it, and the class of what you wear. Like example, as he said earlier on, you see in the construction, you see in the manufacturing, you see in the hospital, you see there are different kind of hand gloves, sunshade, different kind of eyeglasses, safety helmet, and overall different kind of different harness, gadgets as far as health and safety is concerned in terms of PPE. So you have to know the appropriate one. The earmuff, there are different hundreds of them from different brands and different products and different countries, and as case may. So you need to be careful of the selection. You need to be careful of the quality. The quality is another thing, he said. So that is all I need to put on this class, and I believe based on his technical exposure to the industry, he have really used some of those scenarios to clear the way for us to really understand these very topics today. And if you believe and you think that he has done justice to this, and you have really understood this very clearly, when you see people wear PPE now, the next thing you need to know the kind of task they are doing, the kind of environment they're exposed to be able to narrate and analyze and do your risk assessment to know, is it the appropriate what to wear and how to wear it. If you're also in the WhatsApp channel, you'll be able to be getting some information. I think we're going to drop more information there so that you'll be able to understand some of these topics very clearly. If you think we have done the needful today in today's topic, can you put on the chat box 111 as an agreement?